When you've survived your own mind, you develop a different kind of fire. Ever since I was 4 years old, I knew exactly who I wanted to be. I wanted to be a fashion designer, not just any designer. I wanted my own fashion house and I wanted my own brand. By the time I was a teenager, that dream was everything to me. It was the way I expressed myself, the way I saw beauty in the world, even the way I just felt alive. At 15, I got accepted in FIT's summer fashion program, one of the top schools in the world. For me, that meant I was finally on my way. I remember walking to class with my sketchbook looking forward to sketching. Then, during one of my classes, my professor held up a sketch drawn by a boy a year younger than me, and it was immaculate. I mean, every detail was in this sketch, even the fingernails had detail. She held it up for everyone and said, "If you want to make it in fashion, you have to sketch for 8 hours a day like this kid does." And in that moment, my heart just, it broke. I remember the sound of the classroom going silent, my stomach sinking, and this voice in my head whispering, "You'll never be good enough. Don't even try." And that was the first time that I had heard that voice. In that moment, my identity cracked. Because up until then, my entire sense of worth was built around being talented, being creative, being the girl who had it all figured out. And suddenly, I wasn't, and I didn't. I walked out of that program completely lost. Within a couple months, I was spiraling into a darkness I didn't even know existed until that time. At 15, I was now in a full-blown major depression. I slept 23 hours a day. I'd pull the covers over my head, completely cloaked in both just physical and emotional darkness. I wasn't living anymore. I was just disappearing. I didn't shower. I didn't eat. I avoided absolutely everyone that I could. I would do anything to stay in bed away from the world. And then when I couldn't avoid it, when I had to go to school, I took the longest possible routes between classes so I wouldn't have to see or dare speak to anyone. Even at lunch, I hid in my geometry classroom because even sitting in the cafeteria just felt unbearable. I was absolutely terrified of being seen because deep down, I didn't even know who I was anymore. My dream had died, and with it, so did my identity. And when you lose your identity that young, you don't just grieve the dream, you grieve yourself. By fall, I had made my first attempt at ending my life and I was hospitalized. Then released with a diagnosis of major depression. But what made it far worse was the gossip at school after. People talked, rumors spread. I mean, obviously. Well, even one student told my friend that I should have done it. And those words stuck to me like glue. They echoed in my head long after the bell rang. And the sad part is that I believed him. I truly thought that the world would be better off without me. And during that school year, I was hospitalized 3 times, back to back to back, for 3 attempts on my life. I'd even tell the doctors things that weren't true just to stay longer, just so I wouldn't have to face going back to school again. Because school had become an absolute battlefield, and my mind was already the war zone. Eventually, I was sent to a long term care facility where I was diagnosed bipolar. And I was grateful to hear this though, because I thought maybe this was the solution, not the problem. But back home, things weren't much better. I isolated myself completely, and the weight of hopelessness felt just unbearable. Like, no matter how much people showed their love for me, I couldn't feel it. My family, they did what they could, for sure, and then some. They prayed for me when I couldn't pray for myself. They believed when I couldn't believe in anything. But I felt empty, just spiritually, emotionally, physically gone. When my third attempt hit, it hit hard. My sister found me that night, and I remember hearing her repeating the same phrase over and over and over again, just banging her head against the wall outside my room, crying, "Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me?" My dad walked me out of my room while she sobbed upstairs, and for a moment, as I was passing by her, I was watching, and I just I was detached completely. And then just like that, I was trapped back in my head again. That sound of my 7-year-old sister's cries, they definitely still stay with me to this day. because it was the sound of pain echoing through a house that had absolutely no idea how much darkness lived inside its walls. Absolutely none. Looking back now, I can see that was the beginning of my breaking, but also beginning of my becoming, because what I didn't know then was that God was preparing me. Even though I didn't have faith yet, he was there in every numbing night, in every silent prayer my parents whispered over me. He was building a resilience in me that would one day become my greatest strength. Because when you've survived your own mind, you develop a different kind of fire. A kind that doesn't quit, a kind that keeps fighting. And that fire, it's the same one that fueled my business journey later in life. I used to think my dream of being a fashion designer had died in that classroom, but it didn't die. It just transformed. That same creativity, that same hunger to build something from nothing. It came back years later when I started creating again, not in fashion, but in business, in storytelling, in helping others feel seen, heard, and less alone. And I realized something, that the version of me who thought her life was over at 15 was actually the same girl God would use one day to build, to create, to lead, and to deliver hope. Honestly, I'm grateful I went through my hardest times as an adolescent, because those years taught me how to survive, and survival taught me how to build. I didn't see the light back then, but it was still there. And honestly, that is the hardest thing to remember when you're lost in depression, that just because you can't see the light, it doesn't mean it's gone. The darkness absolutely lies to you. It tells you it's forever, but it's not. It's just a moment in time. And if you're in that moment right now, just please hang on, because one day you'll look back and you'll realize that this pain you're feeling was not the end of you. It was the making of you. So as I cry here, tell me, what has helped you hold on when everything felt too heavy? Let me know down below if you feel called to. And if you have any prayers you'd like me in my prayer group to pray over, please put them down below as well. I'm Natalie Dorsey, and this is Dorsey Delivered.